Rick Stroud covers the Buccaneers for the Tampa Bay Times. He's got a great gig. There's always something going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Rick kind enough to join us. Rick, how's morale today in Tampa?
It's good, I guess. I mean, unless you're Tom Brady, maybe you're a little depressed. But look, overall, we all kind of knew how this would end, right? Maybe not ripping your clothes off, to your waist, but we did know that at some point Antonio Brown was going to have a meltdown, and it was sad to see on national television. But this seemed to be inevitable to me.
I just don't understand. Tom's saying, yes, we need to show compassion. He needs help. Did he need help prior to what happened on Sunday, Rick? We're enablers here. Let's not dance around this. We're enablers.
You're 100% right. And Tom Brady is the guy that stuck his neck out and said, no, I want this guy here. I care about him. He's coming off the 8-game suspension last year. We heard about anger management, and Tony Robbins is a changed guy, and he moves him into his house. So, I mean, Tom, as much as anybody, if he was worried about his mental health, I don't think putting a guy on a football field, is the way to do it. He was there because he could still make plays. And that's the only reason. And we're all sort of enablers in that sense. And he's had this pattern for the last 3 or 4 years. He wears out his welcome in Pittsburgh. I'm not loved here. I want to go to the Raiders. And then, I get in a fight under my helmet in it. Now I'm going to go someplace else. And he was, great last year for a little while. And now we have this situation. So I don't know about the mental health aspect of this. I'm not in that field. I just know that there's a lot of words to describe Antonio Brown, and I've heard them all. He's a narcissist, selfish, destructive, a bully at times. I mean, there's lots of words to describe him. And I just think that, playing him right now, if you're truly worried about his mental health, that's probably not the best place for him to be.
I also wonder about the strategy when I realized that, you had Bruce Arians saying he's not a Buccaneer anymore. And I went, well, I don't know if he's technically not a Buccaneer, officially not a Buccaneer. But if you're looking at salary cap, you're looking at could he potentially play for somebody else in the postseason? So what exactly is happening with the Buccaneers and Antonio Brown?
Well, they're consulting with the National Football League about their options, about what procedures they can actually use. If it was as simple as, hey, we don't want him on our team, we're releasing him, that could have happened yesterday, and it didn't. Okay. And I suspect the reason it didn't happen is because we're past the trade deadline. He's subject to waivers, and he could wind up on a playoff team playing against them. And it's kind of ironic, right? You don't want the guy, but you don't want him to beat you. So there's going to be a grievance here. The Bucs can feel it. That's why Bruce Arians isn't saying a lot about the conversation he had on the sideline. AB's camp is saying that he was injured, that he didn't want to go back in the game because of his ankle. That's not really what Bruce Arians is subscribing to. So, but what he did after the fact that they didn't put him back in the game, but his antics on the field, taking off his uniform, running through the end zone, leaving the stadium, that's conduct detrimental. Okay. And I suspect that that's probably where they'll fall. Maybe they can put him on some suspended list, maybe not pay him. That's up to them. But my guess is if they wanted to just get rid of him and release him and make him available to the rest of the NFL, that would have happened by now.
It doesn't help his argument when he's dancing in the end zone claiming that he has an injured ankle here, Rick.
That's right. Yeah, he's doing jumping jacks and, throwing things to the fans and, all of that. And I mean, and even now, right, like he's still stuck in New York for all I know. It's like Home Alone. They left Kevin or something, He's at the Brooklyn Nets game. It's like, I'm not sure he's had a change of clothes. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but if he was that injured, I'm with you. He seemed to be running pretty well up until the point where he didn't go back into the game, and it didn't stop him on the way out of the stadium.
Bigger picture here, the Buccaneers going into the postseason. Last year they had a ton of momentum. They were healthy. Everything was, ahead of schedule here. Handicap the Buccaneers now as they got one more regular season game.
Well, they're pretty handicapped offensively, and now they got injuries again on the defense. I mean, both Jason Pierre-Paul, Shaq Barrett, who's a big piece of what they do on defense, Levante David. Those two guys, Barrett and David, will probably come back, but to what degree, how effective they'll be, we don't know. Look, I would say this, that, and Bruce Arians said it, as long as you have Tom Brady, he just has a way of figuring out the puzzle, right? They have other options. They still have 3 tight ends. Gronkowski has played well if he can stay healthy. They've got Cam Brate in the red zone. O.J. Howard, we haven't seen most of the season, but we know he can be a problem for some teams. This Cyril Grayson has been one of the best stories in the NFL, a guy that didn't play college football because he ran track at LSU, now making all these plays. They still have Brashard Perriman. Scotty Miller we haven't seen. We remember the big plays he made. So I would not say that they don't have any playmakers. Leonard Fournette may come back. Let's see if they can get all this together. They're continuing to build some momentum, I think, and they got a couple weeks to figure it out. If they can get a home game or two, it would not surprise me if you saw Tom back in the championship game.
It's assumed that Brady is back next year in Tampa, correct?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, he's under contract, right? He did this thing, but he can get out of it. There's not like a ton of cap, penalties if he doesn't play. 2 things will decide it. And one is, how does he feel health-wise? And he said, unless he suffers some injury, he thinks he can play till he's 50. The biggest thing is just his family. And Giselle says every year, have you had enough? But the reality is that he's got 3 kids now that are of the age where they're doing things, outside of the home, and they have sacrificed a lot for him. But I can't see him playing more than 1 more year, Dan. I think 45, for whatever reason, seems to be a weird number that's stuck in his head. Does he walk away if they win? But he could win 3 in a row, and no one's done that. If they get to the championship and he thinks they can win again next year, it's hard to really fathom. But like, I know this about the greatest players in sport, they seem to be the ones that don't know when to leave the party, right? Like the vacuum cleaners are going, the lights are on, they're still there, man. They're still at the bar. So I don't know what Tom Brady will do, but I think he'll be back next year.
I was on a town hall Zoom call with him, with some other media members, and I said to him about that moment that I had when I left ESPN, and part of the reason was I was going to miss out on my kids. I have 3 daughters, and my oldest is a son. And my wife said they're going to be all out of the house. And I was turning 50. And I said to Tom, are you worried that you're going to wake up one day and the kids are going to be out of the house? And it got him emotional. Because it's there. And I think Giselle saying a couple of years ago about how Tom has had concussions. Nobody had ever talked about Tom having concussions. But it feels like it's that tug of war there of, I want to continue to play, but then your kids kind of go on without you. And then you try to you dive back into their lives, and you could tell where he's going to have that tug of war, if he decides to play a couple more years.
Yeah, I think he's having it right now as a father. I understand that. I do think, though, at least with respect to his oldest son, he had him in training camp last year. He's been down a number of times for practice. Those kids are also old enough to appreciate and enjoy his career. So I'm not going to say, hey, Dad, let's go win another Super Bowl. And it's okay if you miss all my basketball games, but they know it's at the end too. And I think they know how much it means to him. He said something that when he got the Sports Illustrated Man of the Year award that resonated with me. He said, I have to be comfortable sitting on the couch watching other guys play on a Sunday going, I know I'm better than that effort. You know what I mean? And he's going to be better than 3/4 of them, even at age 45. So that's the toughest thing, man, is that he knows he can still do it.
Rick, great to talk to you. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you again.
Thanks, Dan.
That's Rick Stroud, covers the Buccaneers for the Tampa Bay Times, host of Sports Day Tampa Bay podcast as well.